Hello, I'm doing a book review, and the book I want to review is Child of God by Cormac McCarthy. Now, Child of God was published in 1973. Now, Cormac McCarthy would go on to write books like No Country for Old Men, which of course was made into the movie No Country for Old Men, and he would also write the book The Road, which of course was made into the movie The Road. And this book also had a film adaptation made to it in 2013, I believe, which was actually directed and starring James Franco. Now, the plot of Child of God is it's set in the 1960s, and it follows a man named Lester Ballard, who is a very disturbed man, and he's already not very well liked by people, but what happens is, in the story, he ends up getting falsely accused of rape, and what ends up happening is he does get arrested, but he's eventually freed from jail, but now everybody thinks he raped a woman, which definitely doesn't help his reputation with the people in this town. But what happens is he ends up coming across a couple in this car in the middle of the woods, and the couple is dead, and the book never states how this couple died, but he ends up taking the body of the girl in this couple, and long story short, he ends up fucking it, and what ends up happening in the story is he ends up becoming a serial killer, and he starts killing people, particularly women, and he takes their bodies and starts having intercourse with the bodies. Like, essentially, he starts dabbling in necrophilia, and that's the plot line of Child of God, and it's a very disturbing book. I would hold it up there as one of the most disturbing books I have read. Like, to me, this is right up there with something like Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door or Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho. Now, Child of God has a very interesting writing style, and apparently all of Cormac McCarthy's books are like this. Cormac McCarthy, he has this writing style where, like, he doesn't use quotation marks. Like, normally in books, when a character speaks, the dialogue is in quotation marks, but Cormac McCarthy doesn't do that, and he has been criticized over the years for using this writing style. However, some people have defended it, saying that he does it to achieve a poetic effect. Me, personally, I thought it was an interesting writing style. Like, honestly, the whole book, like, for this book in particular, the book almost felt like more of an epic poem rather than an actual novel, so for this book I actually enjoyed the writing style. However, I will admit, in the beginning of the book, it got a little, confusing. Like, it was a little hard to really follow what was going on because of the writing style. Like, and there are points in the book where it's hard to tell whether it's dialogue or if it's part of the narration, because once again, he doesn't use quotation marks whenever a character speaks. So I thought it was an interesting writing style, but at the same time, I can get why it would turn some people off. Now, this is so far the only book I have read from Cormac McCarthy, so for this book, once again, I didn't mind the writing style, although it probably would drive me crazy if I read a whole bunch of his books in a row, but for this book in particular, it really didn't bother me. Now, I thought Child of God was a very interesting book. As I said, it is a very disturbing book, so it might not be for everybody, but I liked that the book had a very poetic writing style to it, and the book definitely goes into much deeper themes. Like, one of the themes of this book, I feel, is the theme of the cruelty of society, because in the book, Lester Ballard is very much an outcast from society, but in a lot of aspects, though, he kind of deserves to be, because he does do some really bad things in this book. Like, he is a bad guy, but at the same time, you do kind of get the idea that maybe the reason he is the way he is because of how society treated him, you know, but the character of Lester Ballard, he's a character who you're supposed to feel both sympathy and disgust for, and I felt more disgust than sympathy, to be honest, but there were points in this book where you really couldn't help but to feel sorry for this character despite all the horrible things that he does. There were points where it was kind of hard not to feel sorry for him, because there are points in this book where some really bad shit does happen to him, especially in the beginning where he gets falsely accused of rape, but there's also other things that happen to him where it is hard to not feel sorry for him, but at the same time, it's also kind of hard to feel sorry for him, considering some of the other fucked up shit that he has done, but it's a very interesting book, though. I would definitely recommend giving Child of God a read. It's not, once again, it's probably not a book for everybody because it is a very disturbing book, and even if you don't mind the disturbing context of the story, the writing style might not be for everybody as well, because a lot of people have criticized Cormac McCarthy because of his writing style. Honestly, I would probably compare Cormac McCarthy to somebody like Bret Easton Ellis, because Bret Easton Ellis also has a very peculiar writing style in his books, which I know turns some people off. I mean, it's not the same writing style, and I do think Cormac McCarthy and Bret Easton Ellis are two very different authors, but they're similar in the sense that they both have rather unique writing styles, which might not be everybody's cup of tea. But yeah, if you haven't read Child of God, if it seems like it's up your alley, I would recommend giving it a read, and bye.